Good evening, traveler. Welcome back to Mythoria, Secrets and Sagas. Every night as midnight strikes here in England, I sit down to weave these journeys, so that by the next midnight you may walk with me into another world. Tell me, as always, where are you listening from and what time is it for you right now? Together, across places and hours, we share the same path of story. Tonight, I will take you not to Olympus, nor to the halls of myth, but to a place just as strange, just as harsh, and perhaps even more difficult to survive. Imagine stepping into England 1,000 years ago, the time of the Anglo-Saxons, long before castles, long before knights, when life itself was a daily struggle against hunger, cold, and fear. Imagine this. You open your eyes and the world around you is not the one you know. The hum of machines, the glow of screens, the rhythm of your daily life, all of it is gone. Instead, you find yourself lying on straw, the air thick with the smell of smoke and damp earth. You sit up and the first thing you feel is the cold. Not the clean cold of modern air conditioning, but a heavy, bone-deep chill that seeps into your skin. You stand, push open a rough wooden door, and step outside. Mist clings to the fields. The sky is grey, not from pollution, but from weather that does not care about you. Smoke curls from the hole in the thatch roof of a nearby hut, carrying the bitter scent of peat. Around you, low houses crouch like animals against the wind, walls of wattle and daub patched with mud. Chickens scurry at your feet, half wild, and a pig grunts from the shadows. A man looks at you, his beard tangled, his clothes little more than rough wool and leather. His eyes narrow as if you are a stranger, because here everyone outside your kin is a stranger. Trust is scarce, suspicion is survival. He does not greet you with words, only a grunt before returning to his work, pulling water from a well that groans with effort. You walk farther. The ground is mud, thick and clinging, your feet already soaked. Children play in it, their faces smeared with dirt, their laughter sharp but brief. One coughs, a deep rattling sound that does not belong in a young body. No one rushes to comfort him. Illness is part of the air here, part of life itself. You see women grinding grain on stone, their hands red and raw. They will bake bread from barley or rye, flat and hard, the taste more bitter than you're used to. Meat is rare, reserved for feasts or the rich. Hunger is a familiar companion in this place, and famine is never far away. The smell strikes you next. Smoke, animals, unwashed bodies, damp earth, it wraps around you, relentless. You realize suddenly how much you take for granted the invisible cleanliness of your own world. Here, the body's reality cannot be hidden. A voice calls out. A man beckons you to join him at the fire. You sit on a low bench, the wood splintering beneath you, and for a moment the heat feels like salvation. He looks into your eyes and speaks in a tongue you do not fully understand. Old English. Harsh, broken, almost familiar, but not quite. You catch a word or two, signing for king, weird for fate. He smiles, toothless in places, and offers you a horn of ale. It is sour, thick, more like liquid bread than drink. You swallow, and it burns your throat, but he laughs and claps your back. You realize then, this is community. In a world where death is everywhere, survival means sharing what little you have. Yet you also sense the fragility. If hunger comes, if raiders arrive, if sickness spreads, trust will crumble as quickly as the thatch above your head. Look around you once more. The earth is hard, the sky is heavy, and every face you meet is weathered by labor and fear. This is Anglo-Saxon England, somewhere around the year 850, and already you feel it in your bones. This is not a world you were made for. Imagine waking with the dawn. Not to an alarm, not to a schedule, but to the cry of a rooster and the cold breath of morning sliding into the cracks of a thatched roof. The fire you huddled near all night has burned to ash, and the room is already freezing. You pull yourself from the straw, every joint aching, the smell of smoke and animals clinging to your skin. This is how each day begins. Step outside, and the air bites at you. Mist curls low over the fields, and you see figures already bent to work. There is no choice. If you do not begin now, the day is wasted. And a wasted day means hunger. You follow them into the field. Wooden plows scrape the soil, pulled by oxen with ribs you can count beneath their hides. The earth is stubborn, heavy with clay, and the tools are crude. You take hold of the handle and push, your shoulders scream, your palms tear, and yet the furrow is shallow, uneven. The man beside you laughs, not out of cruelty, but because he knows you would not last a season here. By midday there is bread, but not bread as you know it. Coarse, dark, filled with husks and grit that grind against your teeth. You chew, and it tastes of smoke and bitterness. There is ale to drink, not clear and light, but thick, sour, half-fermented grain water, safe enough to keep sickness at bay, but heavy in your stomach. Meat is rare, a dream saved for feast days or lords. For most, this is the diet: bread, ale, and the hope of vegetables when the season is kind. Hunger is a constant guest. You feel it even as you eat, the knowledge that winter is always waiting. A poor harvest, too much rain, a raid from across the sea, any one of these could mean starvation. You look at the faces around you, lined not with age but with wear. 30 years is old here, 40 is rare. Inside the huts, the struggle continues. Smoke fills the air from the fire pit, stinging your eyes. There is no chimney, only a hole in the roof, and the smoke lingers like a second skin. Animals share the space, goats, chickens, sometimes pigs, their noise and filth inescapable. You lie down at night, pressed between your kin, the smell of sweat and wool, the scratching of fleas. Privacy does not exist. Comfort is a dream. And sickness is everywhere. A cough that never leaves, sores that do not heal, fevers that burn through whole families. There are no doctors, no cures. A healer might offer herbs, charms, whispered prayers. Sometimes they work, often they do not. Death comes quickly, without reason, without warning. You walk to the river to wash your hands, but the water is thick with mud. You drink anyway because thirst does not wait. It is then you realize something. Survival here is not about thriving, but about enduring. Each day is a test. Each day you rise to meet it, and each night you collapse into exhaustion, hoping the next dawn will find you still breathing. Look again at the people around you. Their backs are bent, their hands are scarred, their eyes tired. Yet they do not complain. This is their world, and they have no memory of another. But you, pulled from a life of warmth, medicine, abundance, already know this is a struggle you could not sustain. This is daily life in Anglo-Saxon England, and it is only the beginning. Imagine the sound of voices carried on the wind. You follow the crowd, feet sinking in mud, until you come to the edge of a clearing. Here the village gathers beneath a great oak, its branches bare against the sky. There is no court of marble, no hall of judges. Justice lives here, in the open air, in the presence of neighbors and kin. The assembly, begins. Men form a circle, their faces grim. In the center stand two figures, one accused, one accuser. The air is thick with tension. Everyone listens, because everyone has a stake. In this world, the law is not distant. It is immediate, personal, brutal. The elder speaks first, his voice cracked with age but heavy with authority. He calls upon witnesses, men who swear oaths with hands on relics of saints, or with words so sacred that breaking them could damn the soul. No parchment records this moment, only memory, only the word of men. The case is simple. A man has killed another. Blood cries out, and blood must be answered. But here, killing does not always mean execution. The law of the Anglo-Saxons is a law of silver and blood. For every life there is a price, a vergeld. You hear the numbers recited, weighty as stones. A noble's life is worth more than a freeman's more than a slave's. Justice is not blind here, it counts in silver. If the killer's kin can pay, the feud may be ended. If not, vengeance will come. The crowd murmurs. Some call for payment, others for blood. The family of the dead man weeps, their grief hard as iron. They want justice, but justice here is measured, negotiated, bartered like cattle. At last, the decision is made. The man cannot pay. His family is poor, his kin too few. The elder nods, and the punishment is set. He will lose his hand, struck off at the wrist, so that all may see and remember. You watch as two men hold him down. The axe falls, and the scream rips through the clearing. Blood darkens the ground. The stump is wrapped in rough cloth, but the punishment is not only pain, it is exile. For who will now feed a crippled man? He stumbles away, shunned, half a person in the eyes of the law. The crowd disperses. No one lingers. They have seen it before. They will see it again. This is not cruelty. It is order. In a world without prisons, without police, justice must be swift, visible, unforgettable. You stand there, your stomach tight, your hands trembling. You realize that in Anglo-Saxon England, your life is not yours alone. It belongs to your kin, your lord, your community. One wrong step, one wrong act, and the price will be carved into your flesh or weighed in silver. This is not a world of rights. It is a world of survival, of fear, of balance held by blood, and you know deep inside that you could not endure its weight. Imagine walking at dawn through the mist. The village is quiet, but a small bell rings in the distance. You follow the sound, and soon you see it. A wooden church, crude and low, built not of stone but of oak, its roof thatched like every other house. A thin cross rises above it, leaning slightly, as if even it must fight the wind. You step inside. The air is thick with smoke from tallow candles, their weak flames trembling. A priest stands before a simple altar, chanting in Latin. The words wash over the room, strange and distant, a language of power few here truly understand. The villagers kneel, heads bowed, making the sign of the cross. They do not grasp the meaning of every prayer, but they know this much. The priest's words are protection, the church is sanctuary, and God is both judge and shield. You glance at the faces around you. They are rough, weathered, scarred by work and hunger. Yet here in this place, they seem softer. The man who swung the axe yesterday kneels now in silence, seeking forgiveness. The woman who buried her child only weeks ago clutches a wooden cross, whispering her grief into the smoke. In this world of endless struggle, faith is the one light they can cling to. But step outside, and you notice something else. Around the necks of many hang small charms, carved stones, bits of bone, iron crosses etched with strange marks. These are not Christian relics, but older, darker protections. You hear whispers of spirits in the forest, of elves that bring illness, of the weird, fate that no prayer can bend. One farmer shows you a pouch tied to his belt. Inside is a small amulet, a thunderstone, meant to guard his family from storms and sickness. He explains, half proud, half anxious. The priest gives us Christ's blessing. But the old gods, they still walk in the dark, best to keep both. And you realize this is a world caught between two faiths. Christianity has come with kings and swords, with priests and Latin prayers. But the old ways linger, alive in every shadow, every whispered story, every charm against the unknown. The people believe in both, because to believe in only one feels dangerous. Night falls. You sit by the fire with the family, the children gathered close. The father tells them of saints and angels, but when the wind rattles the door, his wife mutters an old spell under her breath, words far older than the cross on their wall. The children do not notice the contradiction. They only know that both are needed. In this harsh world, faith is not about choice. It is about survival. And survival means holding on to every scrap of hope, every prayer, every charm, because tomorrow might bring famine, sickness, or fire on the horizon. You close your eyes, and for a moment you feel the weight of it. to live in a time where the world itself feels haunted, where every shadow hides spirits, and even God seems far away. A time when faith is less about comfort and more about clinging to life. Night has fallen. The village sleeps, huddled in smoky huts, fires burning low. You lie on straw, wrapped in a rough wool blanket, when it happens. The sound that no Anglo-Saxon ear mistakes. A shout, a horn, the frantic pounding of feet on the mud outside. You push open the door and the cold air strikes you. At the edge of the river, flames already lick the sky. Torches, boats, long sleek shapes with carved prows like dragons and serpents, Viking ships. They cut through the water like knives, their sails dark against the moonlight. You hear it now, the clash of steel, the crack of shields, the guttural roar of men who came not to trade, but to take. The villagers scatter, mothers clutch children, dragging them into the woods. Old men stumble, their cries lost in the chaos. You see one man try to defend his home with a spear. He is cut down in a heartbeat, his body falling into the mud. The raiders storm ashore. Axes glint, swords flash. Their voices are fierce, foreign, wild. They wear mail, leather, iron, armor the villagers cannot match. You watch them kick down doors, seize livestock, cut through anyone who resists. A hut bursts into flame, the thatch catching like dry straw, sparks flying into the night. You try to run, but the smoke blinds you. Coughing, you stumble past bodies, neighbors, friends, people who only hours ago knelt beside you in the church. Now they lie still, the earth drinking their blood. A woman screams. You turn and see her dragged toward the river, her child torn from her arms. The boy tries to run, but a Viking grabs him by the collar, tossing him like a sack into the ship. Slaves, that is what they will become if they survive. The fear is not only in the violence, but in the speed. In less than an hour, everything is undone. Fields burned, homes emptied, lives broken. What took generations to build is shattered in a single night. You press yourself into the shadows, heart hammering, praying to a God you barely understand, clutching at charms you do not believe in. For the first time, you feel the truth. There is no safety here. The river is always open. The horizon is always watching. At any moment, the dragon ships may come again. As the raiders push off, their laughter echoes. Flames consume the village. The sky glows red with ruin. You look around at what remains. Ashes, corpses, silence, and you realize, in Anglo-Saxon England, life is never secure. Everything you know, everything you love, can vanish with the arrival of sails in the night. This is the Viking fear, and it never leaves. The journey is nearly done. You have walked the muddy fields, bent your back beneath a wooden plough, choked on smoke in a dark hut. You have knelt in the church where Latin prayers mingle with old charms, and you have seen the dragon ships turn night into terror. You have stood at the edge of graves, where the living whisper to the dead, and you have felt how thin the line is between this day and the next. Now, take a breath. Look around once more. This is Anglo-Saxon England, 1,000 years ago. The cold is constant. There are no warm walls, no glass windows, no fire that burns long enough to chase the frost from your bones. Hunger presses close. Bread is coarse, meat is rare, and famine always waits at the horizon. Illness is never far, a cough, a fever, a wound, and there are no cures, only herbs, charms, and prayer. The law does not protect you. It weighs your life in silver, and if you cannot pay, you bleed. Faith is divided, hope is fragile, and even God feels distant in the night. And always the shadow of sails, Vikings on the river, fire in the thatch, children stolen, lives ended in minutes. Safety is an illusion. You realize something now. You could not survive here, not because you are weak, but because you were not born to this world. These people were shaped by hardship from the cradle to the grave. Their bodies bore scars, their hands were calloused, their hearts learned to carry grief without breaking. You with your comforts, your medicine, your shelter, would falter where they endured. But do not think less of yourself. think instead of what you have seen. This world was harsh, but it was also alive with meaning. Every loaf of bread was precious. Every child's laughter was a miracle. Every dawn survived was a victory. When life is this fragile, each moment glows brighter. So ask yourself, traveler, would you rather live in such a world, fierce and fleeting, where every breath is hard-won? Or in your own, longer, softer, where many of these fears are gone? But perhaps, too, some of that fire has faded. Tell me in the comments, what time is it for you right now, and from where in the world do you walk with me tonight? And tell me, do you believe you could endure a single day in Anglo-Saxon England? Thank you for journeying with me once more across centuries and shadows. Rest now, wherever you are. And remember, though we could not survive in their world still survives in us. In our stories, in our memory, in the quiet truth that life is precious because it is fragile. Until the next saga, traveler, good night.